Power doesn't begin with violence. Power doesn't begin with money. Power begins with interpretation. And the Bible already told you this. It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. The glory of kings is to search it out. This is Proverbs chapter 25, verse 2. If you're new here, welcome. In the last video, we talked about the illusion of separation. And we learned that humanity has been taught to see itself as divided. Okay, divided from God, divided from nature, divided from each other, even divided from itself. But here's the question we have not answered yet. Who benefits from that illusion? Because illusions don't maintain themselves, they are maintained. If separation is an illusion, then that means that someone profits from keeping that illusion alive. Let's talk about the Bible a bit. In Genesis, the fall isn't about disobedience. It's about forgetting. Adam and Eve don't lose God. What they lose is awareness. See, the moment that humanity eats from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, consciousness doesn't gain wisdom. It splits. Awareness fractures into duality. Okay, and then now it becomes us versus them. Sacred versus profane. God versus human. Or spirit versus matter. From that moment on, reality has been experienced as divided instead of whole. And a divided consciousness is easier to guide. It's also easier to predict, which will mean that it's easy to manage. That split is the birth of controllable consciousness. You see, when the Bible is read literally, it can become very confusing. Now, when it's read symbolically, it becomes a bit dangerous because it wakes people up. Now, in numerology, in one of my last videos, we said that number 1 represents source, right? It represented the unity, the authority. It represented that one singular divine power. 1 is where everything begins. And 1 is where power concentrates. In the Bible, this is where power is centralized. Okay, if you look at the stories, the God king, the monarchy, the ruler chosen by God, it's always one voice, one throne, one authority. This is when unity starts to become a hierarchy. You see, when power stays in the one, it feels divine. But when it's claimed by humans, it becomes a hierarchy. Now, many represents the collective. Okay, this is the shared consciousness or the community, right? The many is fluid. We're relational and we're also decentralized. This is how early tribes lived. They were close to nature, to land, seasons, and each other. Okay, power was relational, not centralized. Many moved together like ecosystems, not necessarily empires. But many can't be controlled easily because many think, feel, and move together. So systems don't stay in the many. They introduce number 3. You see, 3 creates the feeling of balance, of stability. But this is often an illusion. It's not freedom. And yes, modern institutions still use these structures. 3 doesn't free power. It organizes it. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Okay, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 12. Triads stabilize systems. We have religion, government, economy. We have mind, body, soul. We have Father, Son, Holy Spirit. 1 concentrates power. Many dissolves it. And then 3 just manages it. But here's the part that most people miss. Stability does not equal truth. Let's bring in some ancient wisdom here. Ancient wisdom always worked with the elements because the elements describe how consciousness moves. Earth represents the material world. It's the money, the labor, your resources, that survival mode. Basically anything that keeps the body alive and anchored in these systems. Now, water governs emotion. This is your fear, your trauma, conditioning you have. Okay, water is memory. It holds what the body has learned to expect. This is why we are 80% water. Air is language. So this would be your education, your media, the narratives. Air is what we're being told. It is what we hear. And it's basically how reality is just being explained to us. Fire is imagination. It's belief. It's your will. It's the transformation, okay? Fire is what we believe is possible. You don't control people by force. You control them by controlling air and fire. When air is controlled, information is controlled. When fire is controlled, your belief is now limited. Once your belief is limited, then your emotion can now be manipulated. And once your emotion is manipulated, access to resources will follow. This isn't conspiracy, okay? This is ancient priesthood knowledge. And yes, astrology also mirrors this. Control the invisible elements, and the physical world organizes itself. Now, what science is revealing now isn't just that belief shapes reality. It's how belief gets installed. Neuroscience basically is telling us that our brain predicts reality first, and that it only adjusts if it has to. You see, your brain is a prediction machine. It fills in reality before you're aware of it. This is called predictive processing. And it means most of what you experience feels real because it's familiar, not necessarily because it's true. Your nervous system learns reality through repetition, not logic. That's why fear-based messages repeated often enough feel like truth. Okay, the body doesn't ask if something is accurate. It asks if it's familiar. This is how belief becomes biology. Studies show that trauma narrows your perception. When the nervous system is stressed, creativity shuts down. Imagination contracts, and your brain slowly starts to default to survival mode. Now you have a survival-based nervous system. And what happens is a survival-based nervous system doesn't imagine new futures. It just keeps maintaining the existing ones. You see, once belief is installed, it creates a loop. Belief shapes perception. Perception shapes behavior. Behavior reinforces belief. And yes, this loop feels natural, but it isn't. This was learned. So science isn't just saying reality responds to belief. It's showing that belief is installed through repetition, through emotion, and through authority. Which brings us back to the real question. If belief shapes reality and belief can be installed, who benefits from controlling the conditions where belief forms? Now, be very calm here, okay? No anger. The system benefits, not individuals. Okay, the systems don't function on chaos. They function on probability. The more predictable people are, the easier they are to manage, organize, and kind of plan around. Fear-based consciousness creates that predictability. When people are afraid, they seek authority. They follow patterns. And we tend to avoid uncertainty. And systems don't just benefit from that. They rely on it. A remembering human is hard to control. A disconnected one is profitable. This is why awakening is always framed as dangerous or crazy. Oh, you're sinning, you're being sinful. You see, God was never outside of you. Jesus taught that. Nature was never separate from you. The elements were never against you. What you breathe in, that's air. Your blood, that's your water. Your vessel, your body, that's your earth. And your fire, that is that divine source. You are not waking up to become something new. You are remembering what you always were.